Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 10 of Heavy Hitters, the review series for the pickup trucks and SUVs of Gran Turismo 6. And to be honest, I wasn't really looking forward to doing this review. It's a weird car, a car which I've never particularly liked, the Chevrolet SSR. I don't really see what this car's trying to be. Technically speaking, it's a pickup truck, but it's also a convertible. And it's almost like it's trying to be some kind of niche sports car in some kind of weird way with the whole two-seat convertible layout and the aerodynamic looks. It just doesn't make sense as a vehicle. Now, I'm sure it has a cult fan base like most weird cars tend to have, but I just wasn't looking forward to doing a review for it. As it happens, however, it's surprisingly good. And I'm happy and surprised to say that, because considering how long Gran Turismo's been out for now, well, Gran Turismo 6 specifically, but also Gran Turismo in general, because this car has of course been in the series now for a while, I'm surprised when I find new cars that can still manage to surprise me. That's pretty cool. And this car certainly does that. Now, perhaps even more surprising is the reason why this car is deserving of your attention. It's not its straight-line performance, or even its price, or its power. Certainly not its weight either. It's actually the handling. Because the handling on this truck is superb. It's actually one of the best handling trucks in the game. And that shocked me. Because for one thing, this SUV/truck, primarily truck of course, weighs in at 1,671 kilos after the stage 3 weight loss. So it's still a 1.7 tonne truck. That doesn't exactly sound like an ideal track car. Plus, it's rear-wheel drive, which, although isn't necessarily a bad thing, generally means that your truck is going to be, at least to some extent, quite tail-happy. This one, though, is not at all. In fact, it has the least wheel spin of any truck I've driven in the game so far. It's almost impossible to get this truck to wheel spin, which, considering that it's 5.3 litre supercharged V8, which, as we already said, drives the rear wheels, puts out 744 horsepower and 750 pound-feet of torque. So the fact that it doesn't wheel spin at all is a minor miracle. And I'm not quite sure why. Although, to clarify, I do have an inkling as to why, and that is in part due to the weight. In the same reason that I've alluded to before in these reviews, the same way that a train gets its traction. It's the sheer weight of the vehicle that stops it from wheel spinning, and I think that must be the primary cause of why this truck handles so well. It's got so much weight grounding those rear wheels that it just doesn't wheel spin. In fact, it's actually difficult to make it wheel spin. And that's pretty good for a 740 horsepower car. Now, its performance definitely isn't class leading in the SUV and truck category. The acceleration is pretty good, especially low end, but again, nothing that special. Being rear wheel drive, there are very few SUVs or trucks that it can beat off the line. And the top-end performance is okay, at around 220 to 230 miles per hour, but again, nowhere near class-leading, and nothing special, really. However, around the track, all of those abilities put together with that great handling do actually make a very surprisingly good truck. At least within the truck class, this is a highly competitive vehicle, and I feel like it could potentially be competitive even outside of that category, especially in slightly lower PP races. Now, the weight being so high does mean that the power-to-weight ratio isn't all that impressive. Despite having a huge amount of power, it still only puts out 445 horsepower per tonne because of how heavy it is. And that's a shame, because that kind of gives you a wrong impression as well, because although it doesn't have that amazing a power-to-weight ratio, it still performs very well. And another great thing about the car is the price. It's only 45 grand, so it's among the cheaper truck models in the game, and is actually around the mid to high mid-section of performance as far as the trucks that are available on the game. So it's not the fastest, but it is one of the quicker models. PP-wise, it sits at, I would say, a moderate 571. I wouldn't necessarily recommend racing it at that level, because it's not necessarily that competitive. But at, say, the 500, or even maybe 525 PP level, it could be quite a good specialist vehicle on certain tracks, especially tracks which do require more torque and maybe a bit more weight to help the vehicle really ground itself, which is exactly what this truck does. So overall, I have to say, this truck has surprised me pleasantly with how good it actually is. Now, it's still far from being one of my favourites, primarily because of the weird looks, which is kind of a case of you either love it or hate it. But if you are looking for a pure performance truck that's competitive against other trucks, and also in general, it's definitely worth checking out. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.